To start chapter 4, this is page 190. We have the idea of the increment and the decrement operators. What essentially we're saying is that in computer science, it is necessary to have a counter. So a counter that does a couple of things. It adds by 1 if we are counting up, and it subtracts by 1 if we are counting down. So increment is counting up and decrement is counting down. Now we use countdown and count up timers essentially, or loops or things that we're going to see here in the chapter. We use that idea so many times that we have it baked into the system. So instead of having to write something like number, so your counter, let's say, is number. So instead of number equals number plus 1, because that's a lot of typing, and every time you have to type more, it leads to more error. We can have a little bit of shorthand for that. We can say number plus equals 1. So you will have seen that in chapter 2. This essentially says take number plus 1 and save the result of that back into the variable called number. So we already have a shorthand, but that's still pretty long. The increment operator then is like we see right here, number plus plus. So that means take number, add 1 to it, save the response back in number. Boom, you're done with that really very, very quickly. If we are counting down, instead of saying number equals number minus 1 or number minus equals 1, we can just say number, because what that's going to do is take whatever is stored in number, subtract 1, and then store the result back in number. It turns out for you as a developer to work extraordinarily well because it is really fast and really cheap for you to be able to do that in a block of code, and it turns out to work really very, very well. Now, we do have the idea of the prefix and the postfix operator. So this is on page 193. And it's been my experience that if I describe to you what happens here, it makes not a lot of sense. But what we're saying is that plus number and number plus are actually two different things. It depends when that operation takes place. So with number plus, that operation happens wherever you see it in execution. So it happens right where you code it. With plus number, what ends up happening is the line of code is executed and then number is incremented. So here, if we do this little block of code, and this is still page 193, if we say plus number and number equals 4, this line is going to print out 4 because the prefix operator says to use the value until this line is over and then increment it. The postfix, number plus, here would display as 5 because it says, no, let's do the opposite of that. Let's add 1 to number now and show you inside of this line. I do have a code sample of this for later on so we can see it again a little bit more clearly, hopefully. But the order of operation there, the pre or the postfix, so whether or not the plus or the minus comes first or if it comes second, does have an impact. But the shorthand, just number plus or number minus or minus number or plus number. The shorthand there is something that you'll come to appreciate because it really does, number 1, happen all the time, and number 2, it saves you a ton of time in typing, which is really one of our biggest goals in coding. Stop typing so much.